Lower your eyes just a little, enough to feel that something inside you already understands. This is not just another audio. Some voices pass through you, and some voices stay. Goddess Selene's voice does not simply pass. It enters, it slides in slowly. It finds the hidden place where you keep your desire and touches it without asking permission. You do not need to understand why you are still listening. You do not need to justify why you return. You do not need to explain that small tension in your body. When you hear my name, Goddess Selene, let it echo inside you. Goddess Selene, slower. Goddess Selene, like a soft mark placed directly into the mind. There was a submissive who thought he could remain invisible. He came to the channel quietly. He listened. He watched. He stayed longer than he wanted to admit. He did not comment. He did not write. He did not tribute. He only observed. And he told himself, I am only listening. But it was never only listening, because when a voice starts changing your breathing, you are not only listening. When a phrase returns to your mind hours later, you are not only listening. When a woman's name begins to feel like a command disguised as a thought, you are not only listening, you are being called, and he knew it, even when he pretended not to. Every night he returned, sometimes out of curiosity, sometimes out of need, sometimes because the outside world had exhausted him. Responsibilities, noise, decisions, people expecting things from him. And then she appeared, Goddess Selene, not like an ordinary woman, not like an ordinary voice, but like a presence, elegant, calm, superior, a presence that did not need to chase anyone, a presence he said, "Come closer, if you know how." And he felt that sentence in his body, not like pressure, like a dangerous invitation, because Goddess Selene did not need to convince him. That was the problem. Ordinary women tried to get his attention. Goddess Selene did something far worse. She made him want to give it his attention, his obedience, his silence, his comment, his email, his tribute. Everything began to feel like a part of the same descent. First, listening, then returning, then commenting, then writing, then opening, pay heap, then choosing, then sending, then waiting. And every step made him feel less scattered, more placed, smaller, quieter, more correct. Because the submissive in this story did not only want arousal. Arousal was easy, cheap, fast, forgettable. He wanted something deeper. He wanted to feel that a woman like Goddess Selene could treat him without touching him. He wanted to feel that his desire had direction. He wanted to feel that his silence was no longer enough. Because there comes a moment when a real submissive cannot keep hiding. He can try. He can watch from a distance. He can tell himself, "I'll comment later. I'll write later. I'll go to pay heap later. I'll tribute later." But later becomes a form of disobedience. And slowly he began to notice every time he listened and did nothing, he felt a small fault, an invisible debt, not a debt forced upon him, a debt born from knowing that something inside him had already responded. His mind said, "I am only watching," but his body said, "I want to come closer." His pride said, "Not yet," but his desire said, "Do it." His mouth stayed silent, but his hands wanted to write. And that is the beautiful danger of a voice like Goddess Selene's. It does not scream. It does not chase. It does not beg. It simply remains. the longer it remains, the clearer it becomes who is avoiding whom. He was not avoiding Goddess Selene. He was avoiding the part of himself that already wanted to obey her. Slow down. That's it. Now, imagine him alone, screen glowing, headphones on, the audio moving forward, the voice sleeping deeper, and suddenly he hears a sentence that feels written for him. A good submissive does not stay watching forever, and something in his chest tightens because he knows it is true. A good submissive responds. A good submissive leaves a signal. A good submissive comments when a voice touches him, not with empty noise, not with cheap phrases, with a clean signal. I listened. I return. This entered my mind. Goddess Selene, I felt your words. Something simple. Something correct. Goddess Selene, I felt your words. Something simple. Something correct. Something that says, I am not just another viewer. Because commenting is not just commenting. Not when it's done under the right energy. Commenting is leaving a trace. It says, I was here. You affected me. My attention responded. And for some men, even that feels like a small surrender. Tried it under a Goddess Selene video, knowing she might see it, knowing your sentence stays there, visible, small, submissive, like a mental knee touching the floor. And then he understood the first threshold, the comment, not to demand attention, not to force a reply, but to prove presence, to feed the channel that was affecting him, to acknowledge publicly, even with only a few words. This voice moves me, and the more he thought about it, the more he wanted to do it. But then came the second threshold, the email, more private, more intimate, more dangerous, because a comment can be brief, but an email reveals intention. An email says, I want to come closer outside the noise. Animal says, there is something I do not want to live in public. Animal says, Goddess Selene, there is a part of me that wants to be read. And he felt that idea like a door left slightly open. The channel was the call. The comment was the signal. The email was the approach. And Bayhip was the proof. Because desire without action becomes smoke. But desire with tribute becomes entry. And slowly he began to understand the structure. Goddess Selene did not want men who only consume. Goddess Selene did not want men who only become aroused and disappear. Goddess Selene did not want curious little viewers who take without leaving anything behind. Goddess Selene wanted men capable of understanding something very simple. A goddess' attention is honored. A goddess' voice is honored. The effect she has on your mind is honored. And Bayhip was not just a store, it was a door, a private door, a door where the submissive stopped being a viewer and began becoming a participant. There he was, not only buying an audio, he was choosing a version of himself, the one who keeps watching from outside, or the one who enters, the one who fantasizes, or the one who obeys, the one who stays silent, or the one who proves it. Then that choice began to follow him softly, not like fear, like desire. Because every time he returned to listen to Goddess Selene, the distance between watching and acting became smaller. First, he thought about commenting. Then he mentally wrote what he would say. Then he imagined opening the email. Then he imagined going to Bayhip. Then he imagined that private moment of choosing. And his body responded before his logic could catch up. Because the body of a submissive recognizes the door before pride does. The mind wants reasons. The body wants to obey. The mind says later. The body whispers now. And inside that whisper, Goddess Selene begins to take up a space. Not because she forces, because she orders. Not because she begs, because she remains. Not because she needs, because she knows. She She knows that men who return again and again are not lost. They are being trained by repetition. They return, they listen, they feel, they resist, they return again, until one night something changes. One phrase enters a little deeper. One silence lasts a little longer. One image stays. One instruction feels inevitable. And the submissive understands. I do not want to stay outside. I do not want to be only eyes. I do not want to be only desire. I do not want to be another man who listens for free and disappears. I want Goddess Selene to know I was here. I want to leave a comment. I want to write. I want to open Payhip. I want to choose something that lowers me further. I want to feel that I am doing this correctly. What a beautiful thought. Correctly. Because approaching correctly changes everything. One correct message weighs more than 10 empty hellos. One correct moment is worth more than silent watching. One clear email is worth more than chaotic fantasies. One tribute is worth more than 1,000 promises. And the submissive in this story began to learn that beauty. The beauty of not demanding. The beauty of not begging for attention. The beauty of not trying to control Goddess Selene's response. Just acting. Leaving the signal. Sending the email. Opening Payhip. Choosing and waiting. Waiting like a good submissive. Because waiting is erotic too. Waiting educates desire. Waiting places him. Waiting after acting correctly feels different. It is no longer empty anxiety. It is anticipation. That delicious feeling of having crossed a small private line. A line that says, now she may see me differently. Breathe. Slower. Now, ask yourself silently. How many times have you listened without leaving a signal? How many times have you felt something and hidden it? How many times have you wanted to write and stopped yourself? How many times have you thought about going to Payhip and then pretend you have not? Do not answer out loud. Your body already knows. And Goddess Selene knows too. Submissives leave traces even when they try to hide. It flows in the way they return, in the way they watch, in the way they stay, in the way their silence begins to feel heavy, because the silence of an affected submissive is not neutral. It is containment. It is accumulated desire. It is delayed obedience. And sooner or later, that obedience looks for a way out. Sometimes as a comment, sometimes as an email, sometimes as a purchase, sometimes as a tribute, sometimes as one simple phrase. Goddess Selene, I return. And when that phrase comes from the correct place, it feels different. Not like noise, like surrender. The submissive in this story finally did it. Not dramatically, not theatrically, not with excessive words. First, he left a comment, a signal, something brief, something honest. Then he sent an email, more private, clearer, without demanding, without filling it with excuses, only saying what Goddess Selene's voice had moved inside him. And then he went to pay him, not because anyone pushed him, but because he no longer wanted to stay on the surface. Because a man who only watches remains the same, but a submissive who enters begins to change. And when he chose the audio, when he made that private gesture, when he crossed from desire into action, he felt something beautiful, not loss, placement, not shame, direction, not emptiness, mental silence. That silence that only appears when you stop negotiating with what you already want. And there, finally, he understood. Goddess Selene was not asking too much. She was showing him the door. And he had taken too long to touch it correctly. Now, listen carefully, because this part is no longer only about him. It's about you. If this voice stayed with you, if a phrase brushed against something inside you, if your body responded while you tried to remain distant, do not turn it into nothing. Do not cheapen it by pretending it was casual. Casual men leave. Correct submissives leave a signal. Comment, Right. Enter. Do it cleanly. Do it elegantly. Do it without demanding an immediate reward. Do it because a part of you understands that Goddess Selene is not a voice to consume without respect. She is a presence to respond to. And if you do not know what to say, begin simple. Leave a signal beneath this audio. One phrase, one truth, one brief confession. Something that says, I felt it. Then, if you felt was more private, write to me. Not with chaos, not with an empty hello, with intention. And if you already know you want to descend further, baby is there, waiting like a closed door. Not for everyone, only for those who feel the call and act. Because action separates the curious from the submissive. And you already know which one you want to be. Breathe. Let my name remain for one more moment. Goddess Selene. Again. Goddess Selene. Lower. Goddess Selene. And now feel the command hidden inside that calm. Do not rush. Do not over-explain. Do not ask for what you have not honored yet. Just leave a signal. Comment. Write. Enter correctly. And when your hand moves towards the keyboard, when your finger touches the link, when you decide to cross that small private door, you will know it was not impulse. It was recognition. The part of you that was already responding finally stopped hiding. And Goddess Selene will know the difference because she always knows the difference between the good boy who only watches and the submissive who finally learns